Hey everybody, Tal here. Good to talk to you. Today we're going to be having a conversation with Jeremy Korn. Now, he started his social media marketing agency 5 years ago. 4 or 5 months ago, he made the transition from traditional SMMA to EMA, e-commerce marketing agency. Recently, he signed a couple of clients, and we're going to be talking about how he systematizes his life, his business, his agency, what he likes to do in his free time, what he would have told his previous self if he could have, and just generally how he goes about his day. So buckle up. This is going to be a juicy one.
Hey Tal, how's it going, mate?
Jeremy, good to talk to you, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good, good.
Good to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you. How's everything going over there? Where are you? You're in the middle of the States?
Yeah, I'm in Arkansas. What about you?
Oh, awesome, awesome. I'm in Canada, actually, just in Ontario right now, near Toronto.
Awesome. What I work with a few people in Canada. Is that where you're from? Or
No, I'm from Sydney, Australia. I was doing some traveling and met my fiance over here. So this is where life is going to keep me, I guess, Northern Hemisphere.
all right. Yeah, man, thanks for agreeing to pop in here today. Basically, what I'd like to do is just talk to you about your journey so far, where you started from, where you're at now, how everything's been going. So when did you start your agency?
So originally, my partner and I started my agency back in 2017. So about 4 or 5 years ago now.
Oh,
Four
wow. So
years.
you've been at it for a while. When did you join the mentorship?
Um, Roughly 2 to 3 months ago. Two or 3 months. Yeah, basically, I've been doing the old school SMA style. I've been doing it for a fair while, going and taking photos, posting to, doing management. And I, started to get into advertising. I realized advertising was more what I wanted to be doing. So I was kind of a one-man band for a while doing that myself. And, I wanted to know how to scale, how to grow, how to create systems, how to hire people to do a lot of the work that I just didn't have time for because I was, getting to capacity really. And that's where Jaime's program came in and shared a bunch of just useful info. And now business is totally different to what it was in such a short time frame.
Oh, that's great. Do you still have your partner?
Yeah. Yeah, well, it was actually my fiance that we started it together, back in Australia when we were living there. So we're kind of still team working it, but for the most part, I guess I'm doing the majority of like I'm in the mentorship myself, so I've been working through the programs and stuff like that, and she's been helping out a lot. But it's been yeah, it's been great.
That is pretty cool. You're one of the I haven't met too many people that have a partner in this, and then let alone like having it be your romantic partner, right? Your life partner. So
Yeah, yeah, it's not as common for sure.
yeah. So I saw the other day that you posted you closed your first client. Now, was that your first ecom client, or just your first client using the automated sales funnel, or what was it?
Yeah, so uh, that was my second client using the automated email funnel. My primary method of outreach previous to joining Jaime's program was email marketing. And, I'd had some good success with it, although I was doing a lot of it manually. So I was pretty excited to, set up the whole system that, he kind of shares with you. So I've been primarily focusing on that, more so than anything else. And that was the second client. It took all the way to the last email. So it goes to show, the money's in the follow-up. Almost none of my clients have come from the first email. And that's in the years leading up to this as well. So having all of those follow-ups, and then like the Loom video to be in there and stuff. I've like the volume I can get out is just so much higher now than I could ever do before on my own manually. So yeah.
Absolutely. I'm curious, how many emails do you send? Like, how many follow-ups are you doing?
Let me check here. So I mean, so basically I'm doing the emails that Jaime recommended. So we're doing four follow-ups, I guess, after the initial email. But of course, I've edited those emails and added my own personal spin to them. And it was, useful having, 4 years of data to work with from my previous email campaigns. So I had kind of figured out, on my own testing over the last 4 years, what people respond to, what email style kind of works best for me. So I was able to incorporate them, kind of my style into, what Jaime was recommending we put into them. How many emails I've sent out? Honestly, not that many. Not that many, just a couple of hundred, I would say, excluding follow-ups. I was doing all of the lead generation on my own, and that, it takes time. It's like real time consuming. That's one of the more time consuming parts, for sure. So, a couple of hundred, really. Yeah.
So what does your day-to-day look like now? What do you spend your day doing?
Yeah. So, I mean, I used to spend much more of my time on the lead generation side of things, but I've since outsourced that to a virtual assistant, and she's been doing a really great job. And so a lot of my time has been freed up. I'm mostly working with, basically communicating with my clients, and basically communicating with them on a daily basis. Although I still go by those, stipulations that Jaime recommends, follow up, have your media buyer follow up on Tuesdays, Thursdays. But honestly, it's kind of more of a daily discussion at this point. And it's between, communicating with the client and communicating with the media buyer as well, that I'm working with, to just get the most out of the campaigns, helping them with strategy ideas, creative ideas with the client as well, because we have that awesome content and asset creation PDF that Jaime gives us as well. So that's given a lot of insight into how we can guide the client. So honestly, it's mostly communication and just putting out fires is mostly my role now.
So before you were doing paid ads, were you doing all the service delivery yourself, or did you have a team doing that?
Yeah. So for the most part, over these 4 years, it's been basically, just myself. I was doing a lot of management of accounts as well. So posting content, it was all me. I didn't have any contractors. That's been like one of the biggest changes for sure, is finding clients that can pay more so that you can outsource it to a contractor and actually start to build a team. I wasn't charging enough to do that before. And it's because I was doing the wrong service for one, and I was in the wrong niche. So, I was owner operator before, and I kind of, obviously I still am, but I'm, taking a step back, where the, scalability has increased a lot.
I want to ask you about your VA, because you said it's going really, really well. And I know for a lot of people, that's the exact opposite of how working with a VA goes. So how have you managed to work with your VA together to, get the results you need?
Yeah. So, I received a couple of messages from people after my last post asking me that too. And I think that a lot of VAs, I know a lot of them, I've only, honestly, this was my first pick of a VA. Didn't go through 10 or 15 to find the right one. I just gave them really good instructions. And I think that a lot of people probably, I'm not blaming the people where their VAs don't work out. There's terrible VAs out there. But I think that you've really got to give them good instructions and walk them through it yourself. So that's, I put everything in a Google Doc. It ended up being like a 13 or 11 or 13 page, something like that, Google document with screenshots and step-by-step and definitions of path 1 and path 2, and, getting into the details and troubleshooting. If you can't find their email, but you have this, do this, and I would walk them through it over a Zoom call. And then I would get them to do it on the call as well. So, and screen share that so I could see their process and how they're working through it. And, that really seemed to work fine. They seemed to understand it, and also just takes a bit of patience, because it's complicated. It can be complicated depending on your process, your lead generation process. My one has got like a lot of, if not this, then that kind of thing. And obviously the identifying path 1 and path 2 can be confusing for people who don't understand, maybe advertising, or it can just be maybe difficult for someone to grasp who's totally new to it. So yeah, just really good instructions, hold their hand a little bit and just be patient. And I'm sure that you'll be able to find a VA sooner rather than later, for sure.
Absolutely. When it comes to the rest of your team, like your media buyer, was it smooth sailing straight off the bat? Did you have any bumps along the way?
Yeah. So I fortunately picked, in my opinion, at this point, a pretty good media buyer. He's been excellent with communication, communicating with me every day and going above and beyond. So I'm really happy, with, who I have right now. But I did, I want to have more than one media buyer on my team. So I'm in the process of restarting interviews all over again. I think that you probably could, always be hiring. That's what I've kind of learned a little bit. So I want to get another media buyer. I've went down the list. Luckily I picked this guy because he ended up working out really well. But the people I had, second, third, fourth, I kind of have gone through that list, and I did, I got in touch with the person who was number 2, gave them a client. I wanted to see how they went. And within 2 weeks, I had removed that client from them and given them to my original media buyer, because their communication was really terrible. And I waited a long time that I should have had for certain aspects, things to be done. And when they were delivered, they just weren't good. So, that was an issue. And I had a new client that I was not wanting to mess up. And so fortunately, we've kind of salvaged that situation by just taking quick action there and being like, okay, this isn't working. I had a really great conversation with them, ended on great terms, but it wasn't working. So you cut the cord and you move on. Got to do what's best for the business. As long as you are polite and nice to people, and providing they haven't deliberately screwed you over or something. But so like there was that hiccup, and I don't want to have any more of that experience. So I'm going through my process. How can I minimize that possibility from happening again? So I'm making sure that I'm kind of updating things, like in my interviews. I'm reiterating how important communication is. I need responses within this time frame, within your working hours. So if people that can't do that, I don't want them to continue. And copywriting, I think that is probably one of the harder aspects to actually find a quality copywriter in maybe a media buyer. And that's something I'm really stressing as well. Needs really great understanding of the English language, like great grammatical, proficiency, stuff like that. That's something that's of high value to me. So, just taking notes and adjusting the process to try and reduce the likelihood of that happening. Yeah. Sorry if that was a huge response.
No, that was good. A lot of good nuggets packed in there. Yeah, myself, and I know others, have struggled with, finding that communicative team member who's going to hop in and do the job. And it's easy to find someone to do the job. A little bit harder to find someone that's going to communicate well while they do the job. Seems like you got totally lucky, or maybe not lucky. Maybe you did a good job of your hiring process, right? And maybe a little bit of luck too.
Sure.
Who knows?
A little bit of luck too.
Yeah. So over the next, so you said your day-to-day is a lot of just daily communication, helping your clients, talking to your team. Like over the next 3 to 6 months, what do you say your biggest challenge is, where you're at now versus what you need to be in that time?
So definitely would have to be just refining processes. I found that even though I had things relatively set up, I still felt super messy and unorganized. And I think that was due to not having a complete understanding still, like a fluent understanding of every process, individual one. So like the hiring process, the communicating process between client and media buyer, the 90-day propulsion program or whatever you've called it for your agency, having understanding of the ideal processes for that. And then the onboarding and the kickoff session and everything that the media buyer needs to know that maybe wasn't mentioned in the program for whatever reason, but the program puts you gives you like 95% of what you need. There is areas that you need to fill in the gaps with from your own experience. And that's what Jaime obviously is saying throughout the program. He's like, you need to learn from what you're doing and then improve and adjust as you go and take those notes forward. That's the only way we can improve. So, I think that just continuing to fully understand how this machine operates, and really getting to know it like intimately, and also just refining processes with everything's about process. Just with my media buyer and our processes with each client once we have them on board. Monday, the organizing, I can't remember what it's called, but it's been fantastic for putting down our whole processes like in a huge thing, like, and just ticking them off as we go. So that's been excellent. And honestly, just really trying to get better results. I think that is the thing that probably can bring the most anxiety now, just on a day-to-day basis. It's like, how can we just improve results? What's working, what's not, and just getting better at identifying that, and getting to be able to get results as quickly as possible. So like that, I really want to work on the results side of things, because everything else is going really well. Communication's been great, but it can be hard to, remain patient while you're waiting for the results. So over the next 3 to 6 months, I just want to get better at what we do as a whole. Faster results, better client communication, all that stuff. I think that's just going to be really important. Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So yeah, here's a random off-topic question, but what do you do for fun? What are your hobbies? Free time? What do you
do? My partner and I do like to do like physical activity. I find that this is it's such a heady thing. All of these different systems and communicating can really just fill your head. Like, even if you don't have much, even if I've done most, and I don't have much to do, my brain just feels full, just like all these things flying around. So getting out there and doing physical activities, like the number one thing. So we're going into winter over here, obviously, right? And, that's the start of the ski season. We live near Banff. We're just visiting family at the moment, but we live near Banff in Alberta. So more west than where we are now. And there's obviously lots of ski resorts. So this season, this winter season, we're going to be getting out there and going skiing. I think that's like one of the best resets for me, for sure. It's just like being out in the mountains, just gets you out of your head and into your body. And so physical activity, she's a handstand coach, an online handstand coach. So we're, out there taking photos and doing stuff like that. Mostly just, spending time together. Hobbies, reading nonfiction. I don't really read any fiction. That's something I want to get into in the future, but I've always kind of been like, I've got to learn something from this book if I'm, investing that time into it. So I'm reading a book, actually, a really good book right now called Brand Against the Machine, which I've been really enjoying. And, Power of Now, A New Earth, Eckhart Tolle, stuff like that. But yeah, I'm in that stage of the agency, and the new agency that I've been doing since joining Jaime's program, that a lot of hobbies, like for instance, I was doing, and this is what I would consider a hobby, but I'm doing a certification to be a nutritionist type thing. And I have had to put that on hold for a few months. I just haven't done any of it. So I've got a lot of work to do there, but that had to kind of take a back seat because this was really taking off my attention. And so a lot of hobbies and a lot of things that I would usually do have kind of taken a back seat for a little bit, but I'm getting to that point where, I'm going to start, rereading about nutrition, reteaching myself these things, reading more, getting back in the gym more, stuff like that, and trying to get outside more in general. I think that's like the biggest one, getting outside into nature.
I agree with you. All right, Jeremy, last question for you. If you could like go back in time and say like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, or whenever and talk to your former self and tell him like one thing, what do you think you'd tell yourself?
That's a great question. Okay, so I would probably tell myself to start pursuing, things I enjoy a little bit like sooner, because, this is enjoyable work, and I enjoy it, and I enjoy the niche that I work with, which is in the sustainable niche. And it's fun, but, for example, the reason I'm doing the nutritionist thing is because I really enjoy that, and I've always enjoyed it, and I should have probably started it sooner. And to be honest with you, it would have taken more of my time, but it would have taken it away from any work I was doing in the social media marketing. But it probably would have positively impacted what I'm doing now, because, how they say, if you want something done, give it to a busy person. It would have gotten me obviously taking more action towards the things I want and enjoy. And I think even though it would have taken more time, it would have spread over to something like this. There's a term called far transfer, where you're doing something like an activity that's seemingly totally unrelated, but it transfers to something else that you're doing, maybe, that aren't related to each other. And I think that, although not too far away from each other, that would have happened, so I would have the advice, start taking action on the things that, really make you come alive and enjoy, for sure.
Stuff, man. Good stuff. Thanks for watching, everybody. Hope you enjoyed. Jeremy, thank you so much for coming on. As always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Let us know what you thought about it down in the description below. Thank you all. Have a great day.